This episode is sponsored by Adorn Comfy Closet, where comfort, style, and satisfaction unite.
They want all the things that they see that come with fame. That's really what it is. They don't want fame or success. They want what comes with it. They want the perks.
Is it really that deep?
Not really, but we make it that way.
Well, let's casually talk about it.
Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Casually Deep podcast. My name is Oaklyn Jonas Galloway, aka OJ the OG.
And I'm Ressie G, not Cardi B, but I still get to the money. Oh,
and we are so grateful to welcome you guys back into the conversation. This one is going to be fun because I think that there are so many ways to approach it, but today we're going to be talking about fame and success. And I have a theory that people are more attracted to fame than success, especially in today's climate and especially in today's entertainment industry. What do you think?
We have a debate?
We do have a debate.
Let's get into the debate.
Let's get to the debate.
In today's world, I would like to know, what comes first? Fame or success? Because you know the prophetess once said, first you get the money, then you get the power. Once you get the power, you get the respect. Let's keep life. I think that the success comes first. It depends. Maybe it depends. I feel like the fame may come first, depending on what world you're in. If you are an influencer or, a public figure, or a content creator, once you get famous, that's when you can create room for yourself for success. Like, I think, even thinking of, Quinta Brunson. I think she went viral and became famous, and then she was able to do Abbott Elementary, which gave her success. It needs to be some type of, I think that some type of entity comes from your level of fame that confirms your success.
I can kind of see it both ways. I see it almost as like two sides of a coin, but for me, it also kind of depends on what your personal values are and what you personally define as success. Because I see a lot of people, especially nowadays in the social media era, getting fame so quickly that they don't necessarily realize what success is for them or what they can even take that fame and channel it into. They just want to be famous. You know what I mean? And then I see a lot of people who have defined success for themselves. And so whether they get to a certain place or not, or get to where the general public thinks is famous, they're content with the success that they have because they know what they want out of what they're doing.
Sexy Red.
That. I was even thinking more of a Rhapsody. Because I think Rhapsody is an incredible female rap artist who has been nominated for Grammys. She has her core fan base. She has critical acclaim. She's in the conversation, all of those things, but you don't see her on the charts or, on every tour or at Coachella or in these mainstream spaces. But you also don't see her online like Azalea Banks flipping out about it either.
Is that her thing or is that her team thing?
I don't necessarily... I personally feel like your team should delegate what you want. So I would hope that if it is through her team, they're executing her vision. But also the quality and the type of music that she puts out isn't today's demographic. It's not the hypersexualized, what Jermaine Dupri would call stripper music, this, that, and the third. She's more of a Queen Latifah, MC Light type of girl. You know what I mean? So her music also doesn't necessarily appeal to mass consumption.
Right, because she's an MC Light, Queen Latifah type of girl.
She's a hip-hop artist and not a rapper.
But not a modern-day hip-hop artist.
What is a modern-day hip-hop artist? Because I feel like today we have rappers.
I would say Kendrick Lamar is a modern-day hip-hop artist.
I can see that. But he's also one of those people who just does music when he feels like it. Like he's not under the pressure to release music in a constant state, because I feel like he also has defined his level of success. So in that, he's been able to attain a certain level of fame based on the authenticity of that. I think Rihanna is somebody who's another good example of that. Donald Glover, Frank Ocean, all of these people who have amassed huge fame by defining success for themselves, because they know what they want. So all the stuff that they get extra is just extra.
And all those people made pivots too.
Very that.
They very much did the same thing that back in the Gap, Ice-T, LL Cool J, Will Smith, Queen Latifah did. They started out as one thing and then went into something else. Because like you see these successful artists transition and make pivots to product. Even Cardi with Whip Shots, Rihanna with Fenty, Childish Gambino with television, going into television,
right?
Kanye with Yeezy,
that,
you know.
And then if you want to keep it in the music, like my favorite example of this is always Missy Elliott. She never has to release any music because her bread and butter is producing and songwriting. So that's why she could take that's the reason why she could take a 14-year gap between The Cookbook and Iconology, because she was writing R&B songs, she was writing rap songs, she was producing, you know, and then reaping all of the benefits of her publishing and all of that stuff. Like, she set herself up. And her pivot was still able to be within her wheelhouse. I think sometimes that goes right and sometimes that goes wrong. Like, not everybody who has success in music should pivot to product, though. I personally believe.
Some people can't effectively do it.
You know what I mean?
Especially if you haven't reached a level, some type of level of fame. Even if you look down to Pinky with Slutty Vegan.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with Slutty Vegan?
Yes.
Restaurant?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a vegan restaurant, a vegan fast food restaurant. And then she has chains all over. She makes all this money. But at the beginning, her hustle kept her going. And then she got on the local news. And then she became famous. She didn't really become a success to the public eye until she had multiple locations. And she was able to, you know, have the food trucks and all of this stuff. And, like, actually brand Slutty Vegan as a one namer now,
right?
You know, as a franchise that people want to buy into. And then when you look at people like, say, Super Scent with the crayon case, the makeup, nobody expected for Super Scent to come from where she was waiting tables at Ryan's to being this multi-million-dollar mogul from makeup with what she thought was just an amazing product she created, and then boom, she is who she is. But I think that her being on social media and actually reaching the people gave her the fame. And then, you know, there's that iconic video of her looking at her phone as she made $1 million in like 15 minutes or something like that, whatever it was.
Son, it's only 10:07, son.
And then boom, she's a success. She has the warehouse where she does all the product and does her own shipping and all that stuff, which is crazy to me. You know,
Jeffree Star is another one, even though he's a bad example, but the story is what I'm looking at. There are two people who I would love to talk about in the terms of people who necessarily shouldn't transition into product, but they're from two completely different angles. One from somebody who, I don't think has the success to sell products yet, who is Sexy Red, trying to sell these disease lip glosses. And then Beyonce, someone who has the fame, but they have a fame in a different time period, so their fame isn't necessarily transitioning to the products that they're trying to sell right now, because they haven't engaged in the parasocial type of attainability that gives people mass amounts of fame and product success now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, what's your thought? Leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell as well. We will be right back.
What's going on, everybody? This is OJ the OG, but I still got the juice. And I wanted to tell you guys about Adorn Comfy Closet, where comfort, style, and satisfaction unite. For all of your comfy closet needs, make sure you go and place your order with Adorn Comfy Closet. Welcome back, everybody. Let's get into the segment. Let's get into our main conversation. I think that the overarching conversation that we want to have for this episode is, why are people more attracted to fame than actual success?
I think that it goes to immediate gratification when you're famous. Because when you look at a person that, say, may get on a show, right? People think that stuff like that happens overnight. Like, people look at Nene Leakes and they think that, oh, she got on Real Housewives and then she just soared. But they forget that Nene's journey to Real Housewives, she was 40. She was in her late 30s going into 40 before she actually popped. She was a stripper, which she probably says. She went to school. That didn't work for her. And she liked it. And she was a starving artist, an actress, while being a mother of children and stepchildren that she had to come in and, assist with raising at times. And I think that people think that it just happens overnight. It does not happen overnight, even when you are dealing with fame. Then another thing, too, is a lot of people can't really handle that immediate gratification. There is somebody that I won't mention their name, but they can't it's a way of going from one particular arena to then going to mainstream and then going back to that arena and still kind of teetering. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not actually using the connections that you have made to keep you settled and propel you, because you didn't know what you were shell-shocked by the fame that you got.
I agree with that. And then I also think that a lot of people, and for some reason this is still a thing all these years later, where people come into the industry and they want fame and that's it. They want to be recognizable. They want all the things that they see that come with fame. That's really what it is. They don't want fame or success. They want what comes with it. They want the perks. They want the money that they think comes with being famous. They want the looks that come with being famous. They want the alleged access that comes with being famous. What they don't know is what they have to do to get that access. But what bothers me is when people come into this industry and they want fame and they don't have a plan. They don't have anywhere to go with it. So people, like, my main example of this is, how many times do we see people come on these reality shows saying they do one thing, saying they coming on this show for a reason. Most of the time it's music. And then we get on there and we see them be all about music for the first 6 episodes.
Most of the time it's what? Most of the time it's what?
Music. Or, in most of these cases, lack thereof. And we see them get on here and they spend the first 6 episodes being all about music and fighting for their dream, and out here fighting for their life, and music is like everything. And then as soon as that first season is over, they come back and we see them doing everything but music. That goes back to what I was saying about some people shouldn't be transitioning from music into products. Sexy Red is one of those. Beyonce was another one, but for a completely different reason. But that's an example of what I'm talking about. It's like, we don't know you enough for your music yet, but yet you out here trying to sell us shit that we don't need.
You haven't really reached the level of success.
You ain't even sold me no album.
I just don't like.
Now you out here selling lip gloss, poppers, ass, OnlyFans subscriptions, Zeus subscriptions. Can't get a song.
It's y'all fault.
It's y'all fault. Because y'all like this bullshit. Y'all get on here and y'all like these people for their antics and don't invest in their music. Y'all don't stream their shit, but y'all will watch them on TV. And then they think that y'all don't give a damn about their music. So then they give up on their dream and they start feeding into this BS and start doing everything. And then when y'all get tired of them, then they confused. Then they get... Then they just out here doing stuff for nothing. We get tired of them. They get kicked off the show because the antics run out.
Mm-hmm. When your talent could just last.
And then once that antics and that clout runs out, you can't go back to music because no one takes you seriously.
That's another thing I liked about K. Michelle too, to go back to her, is whatever she was going through, she was really transparent about everything that she was going through, and then she put it in her music, which then created a whole album. You know, she literally pulled from her cast members and everybody else that was around her to put pen to paper and create art out of it.
Literally mixtapes, EPs, albums. Like literally in that first season, we got Zero Fucks Given, the Holdover EP, and Rebellious Soul.
Mm-hmm. And then the next season we got Anybody Wanna Buy a Heart,
and then More Issues Than Vogue. It's just it just kept going.
She wrote a song for Mimi.
Christmas album.
Well, she's had EP.
Well, Christmas EP. We got the music.
It was really 2 songs.
I listened at it on the iPod.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. But I listened to Zero Fucks Given, though.
I did.
I'm still listening to Zero Fucks Given.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, like... And I think... How much of that do you think is a derivative of the tailspin of the intention of the industry today? Because back in the day when people came into the industry, there was an earnest intention. People wanted to get in here and really do something. They wanted to make their dreams come true. They wanted to feed their families. They wanted to get to a better place in life. They really wanted to, really make something happen for themselves. And a lot of the times, the community around them that they came from. Nowadays, bitches just trying to get to a bag by any means necessary.
Yeah, and they put out bull. I mean, back in the day, when you got signed, you were given tons of money because you had an immense talent.
Thank you.
And then hip hop. Let's not forget hip hop. Hip hop is not old yet. Hip hop is not old. It's still a baby. So I mean, hip hop has not been around very long. So when you look at even R&B, when you look at the R&B, the real R&B singers from back, the women
Ribs
who
and
actually
barbecue.
set the tone, there's nobody evoking emotion like that anymore.
No.
Aretha get on a track and talk and deliver a cover. Let's be clear. Deliver a cover of a song that was already put out, put her emotion and her feeling on it, and then it sells better than the original.
Quick sidebar. Since you brought up covers. So, we're in this wave where, people are lazily utilizing samples to try to get quick moments, right? Because people are in this Y2K, this wave of nostalgia and all of these things. How would you feel if people went back to doing covers again versus sampling? Because I feel like people aren't really making samples new again. We aren't getting new songs. We're getting remixes.
If they can't do it right, then don't do it. I mean, if you're not going to give me a real... I think the most modern day remake of a song that completely... This artist massacred the original artist that sang that song was when Anita Baker did Lately by Tyrese. She made a whole new song.
That was a moment.
She made a whole new song.
She really, yeah.
She made a whole new song.
Facts. That was a new record.
So it's or if you use your star power to pay homage to the people that came before you, Beyonce, Jolene, Dolly Parton, I get it. Okay. But it's that to me is more intentional than just taking, doing a Tory Lanez and taking a piece of brownstone. Was Tory Lanez?
That was the one. Say it.
Took a piece of that because it was cute, but you don't even know what the song is really. Yeah. You don't know 5 Miles to Empty. Heard It Through the Grapevine. You don't know all of that went with brownstone.
Right.
And it's just even when I remember when Shaka Khan was talking about how she didn't like the Kanye sample because she just she felt like he just chopped it up and it just wasn't it. And so it's like that type of stuff. Yeah, she gonna get a check from it, but Ashaka Khan she is the queen of funk. She is who she is, period. And it's like, you can't just do something with that music. You can't handle the music any old type of way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they do with these singles and things like that nowadays. Because I would prefer, I'll get on social media and hear a cover of a song that an influencer or a TikToker has done, and I want that versus the original.
Will Gittins.
You know?
Will Gittins is a good one. Rome Flynn did a great cover recently. I think it was of I Want to Know by Joe. It was amazing. But, something interesting that just popped into my mind while you were talking. I think it's very fascinating that we see people coming into the industry, because we come from an era where you got signed because you had an immense talent, but you were also developed as an artist. Mm-hmm. You were really nurtured. You were ready. Like when you came out, it was undeniable. And if you came out and you flopped, then the people just didn't want you. Just flat out. But nowadays, you see people coming into the industry with no plan, no direction, no artist development. No management, no team.
When the City Girl said that they didn't have a manager, they only had did you ever see that?
I gagged. I was like, where's MC Light? Where's somebody? Somebody come manage these girls.
Because they could have been.
They could have been huge.
Bigger.
Huge. Mm-hmm. Had they been managed right. Because there was some, like, they had bops. And then the way they were developing on their last 2 albums, I was like, had they just been cultivated correctly. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, these are 2 women being completely steered by men.
And they didn't know what to do with them. They should have hired. Go get Lorianne. She know.
Go get Lorianne. Go find Paris Goebel. Hell, if you need a man, call Sean Bankhead. Yeah. Call Tiana Taylor.
Yeah. They know. Well, they can be creative directors, but when you talk about like this industry, like for real, you need those icons that are still around, that can still dip their pinky toe in there. Go call June Ambrose. She was there.
Dad.
She's been there, and she will go get Misa.
Call Deb Antony. Shit.
I don't know about Deb.
I mean,
I remember the first time I met Deb, because I was a radio personality for B100.
Right.
And the vibe was just like not it. She walked in, she sized me up, and she was like, "Who's this?" And I was just like, "Oh." And I was like, "Girl, I'm the one that's been here doing this show and making this show what it is." Because it was the LGBT show on the station.
I'm the reason you want to be on the show.
Then she did have a meeting with me and the other 2 hosts, and we talked about it afterwards. But I just really did not like that first impression, because she was someone that I actually was excited to meet and excited to work with, just based off a Jet magazine article that she had did, an interview that she had did, where she said that she would, for men to respect her, for the industry to respect her, she would hold her phone up to her ear and be talking in a full conversation. No one would be there. She'd be talking about business and no one was there.
Sick.
And I just admired that. And I guess that goes to the whole thing of don't meet your heroes or whatever. So, but I think that, going back to the original question and diving into it, I think that fame is more attainable now with social media than it was back then. Like back then, you just couldn't be that. Kim Kardashian being famous for being famous, like people love to say that, even though she's multifaceted, she has all these things. I get all that, and she had a manager that really flipped the narrative for her. Mm-hmm. But there's not too many people that can do that anymore and just be famous for being famous.
Right.
And I think that people are more attracted to fame because you can make a post and go viral and then become famous.
Which is why it shocks me that people come into this industry knowing they can get famous that quickly and they have no plan. You know what I mean? I think when people make the decision, well, I mean, like, the plan is to get the clout, get the virality, but then they have no course of direction of how to channel that into something that is substantial or that is long lasting or that has any type of real value. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to get these clicks and these views for these 3-4 days. And then after that, now what? Now you got to follow that up with something. Or you're going to have to channel that into something. Just like my example of that is, I don't know what she's doing, but Jules LeBron. She literally has the entire world very mindful, very demure.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean?
I hate that because I've been saying demure for years. Now I can't even use that as a...
Just like we were saying point blank period for years. But now all of a sudden, these two girls throw this in front of it. Now it's a whole movement. You know what I mean? But we ain't get no period merch. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I mean. Like, it happens this quickly. So when you decide to set up that camera and make that video or write that tweet, why are you not thinking, okay, like, I want to do this? Like, if this is like what, why, like, I think that's the bigger question for me is not even why do they come into the industry without a plan, because I think a lot of people aren't even planning on coming into the industry. They just want to be seen. And then all of a sudden, fame is dropped on them, and they don't know what to do with it because they just plan to go viral. Yeah. They just wanted some clicks and some views real quick. That, like, even with YouTubers, they go into it with the thought process of monetization and keeping that going and, like, monthly AdSense and things like that. But these people just popping up on Instagram, TikTok, doing all these things, and they just
there's some YouTubers that go into that thought processing.
Well, I would hope.
You know. And I think even with that, a lot of people want... And then I think about the people that don't get that. The people that try to carbon copy the actual creatives, the ones that knock down the door, that open the door, and then they come in and pick up the baton. It wasn't passed to you, but they pick up the baton.
Right.
And then fail. Mm-hmm. But it is sad because they want the notoriety because they think that they're going to get the same notoriety that this last person got. Mm-hmm. And that's just not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. That's not how any of this works.
Which is why you shouldn't spend your time trying to be the next something or the best over somebody. You know what I mean? I feel like this is why, for me, all things when it comes to innovation comes back to Missy Elliott. Because, like, she taught me one of those things of, like, when she creates music, she cuts herself off from the world. She don't listen to radio. She don't watch TV. She cuts off all influences around her so that anything that she puts out is 100% original. Whereas now, all we see is 30 people doing the exact same thing. 13 YouTube channels all making the same show. 50 rappers all making the same song.
Mumble music.
13 female rappers making the same song, shaking the same ass, getting the same BBL.
I just don't. I wish that people would want more individuality and identity versus quick fame. Because when the success comes and you can't handle the success from the fame that you got, it literally, the brick wall falls down.
And why do you think that is, though, now? Because back in our day...
Because they didn't have a plan. They didn't know what they were going into. They did it for the wrong reasons. I don't think that you get a reward from the universe and God and the ancestors if you go into it with a idea of, I want to be popular. Mm-hmm. I don't. They don't reward that because you're not being authentically you. So when you go into a space and you're wanting to genuinely do something, then your talent supersedes your expectations. I think these people, because Tabitha Brown, when Tabitha Brown stopped code switching, that's when the process to me started for her. Mm-hmm. When she got into her space and she was just authentically talking about that vegan sandwich that she got from Whole Foods and then got that brand deal and then continued to be herself. It's easy to be yourself. Martha Stewart, it's easy to be yourself to get to a level of success. But when you're trying to be a better version of something that's already out, you can never be that.
When do you think that switch happened? Because back in our day, people got signed for individuality because they sounded like no one else. You know what I'm saying? And nowadays, everybody's trying to sign their version of their next this.
I think it happened when they started to pin the superstars against each other. And it wasn't off. There was once upon a time where you had, the Diana Ross being jealous of the Gladys Knight. Now they particularly pick people and try and put them against each other. I think it started with Mariah and Whitney. The moment that the diaspora changed with that, you got that, and then it trickled down to Brandy and Monica. Then it grew on over to, they tried to do it with Beyonce and Rihanna, but failed. Then it goes over to Nicki Minaj and Lil' Kim. That should have never happened, or Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown. So, I mean, but it gets old too quick, especially nowadays, because nowadays that don't fly. You got 30 seconds to pull somebody in, and then if it don't work, then you out of there.
Prime example. Shit, we started off the year with Nicki and Megan going for blood with each other. His Bigfoot of it all of those things. We did all of this, and nobody got nominated for a Grammy. Neither one of them.
I don't think.
Which is wild. Which is wild to me, because to me this reeks of misogyny, because Not Like Us is all over the Grammy nominations.
I don't think it's necessarily misogyny. I just think it's just, you submit what you want to submit. I think that if Megan would have submitted for the Grammys, then people wouldn't be focused on the documentary.
I wonder, because the documentary been out for like a few weeks now, and people ain't talking about it now.
But she's still getting the views.
Sure.
And she's still #1 watched on Amazon.
So do you think she'll get more views now that she wasn't nominated, or do you think she would have gotten more views had she gotten nominated?
I think she'll get more success because she wasn't nominated and put out a movie and put out a documentary, because she has to branch out into another space. Grammy, she already got 4. Having tons and tons and tons of Grammys, I mean, that, if the music good, then the music good, period.
I know that. I'm just talking about the vantage point of the people, because the people now all think that if you don't go #1, you're a flop. If you don't get nominated for a Grammy, then you're canceled. And I just want you to give context to the realism of what it is, because I'm playing devil's advocate for the people who just choose to be ignorant and choose to be dense.
Well, I mean, that speaks to, and that could possibly be a whole nother conversation, but that just speaks to how media creates, because the media, the free press, has the press in general has way more control over what happens than we think. Radio has way more control over what happens when it comes down to music. But that's a whole nother conversation within itself.
10 million %.
And I just really think that if people would hold on to wanting to be successful first, with the fame will come. Success first, because you can live in your authentic truth of whatever that is, whatever you're doing, and then go into a space of, okay, now I'm famous. Absolutely. And I think that that's fine. Because, I mean, there's people like Jeff Bezos wasn't looking to be famous, but he is. Right. But that's because he was successful first with a great product.
And I also think that going in and knowing what you want out of the industry, having that definition, it'll be a lot easier for you to handle that fame once it comes to you, because whether it comes or goes, you know what your definition of success is. So all the stuff on top of that is extra, more than you would ever dream. Sure, great, live in it, thrive in it, but as long as you're able to keep that sort of grounding of what you define success in, then there's no way for you to fail, because if you hit that, then you've hit it. Now you can only create the next goal and just supersede yourself. Now you're competing with your own self.
Beyonce.
That. But I do want to close with this, because I do think that defining success for yourself is important, because when you get that fame, you'll better know how to navigate it. I want us both to define what we see success is for ourselves.
My definition of success for me, I think I've said this publicly, and it's going to be forever what my mantra is, and that's not leading with malicious intent with anything that I do. business-wise. I've never led with malice. I never will. And with me doing that, I have gotten the clout, the followers, the fame, the anything, the accolades. But I never lead with malicious intent.
I think for me, I want to leave behind a catalog of work that truly speaks to my desire to not only uplift minority communities, but also uplift self-encouragement, self-advancement, and truly self-worth. I think that has truly been my mission, and the reason why I do the work that I do is because that's where I find my value. And so I hope that I leave behind a legacy of encouragement for people to go out and define themselves for themselves.
Right. Love it.
Alrighty. That was it. Comment, subscribe, like, all of the things. Drop down below and let us know what you guys think. What do you think about fame? What do you think about success? Let us know your definitions of success. And give us some more examples of people who you think took their fame and made an even outlasting success from it.
Yeah, until next time, casually have your conversations and make sure they're deep.